Well, I woke up this morning from a reoccurring dream.
All right, part 3 of our reaction to all of VAIKUNTHAPURRAMULOO. Thanks so much for coming back. I'm sure you're all excited to jump right into it, so I'll keep this short. Since you guys are watching this on YouTube, you're gonna see a cut down version of our reaction because we're only allowed to show you a limited amount of picture-in-picture. If you wanna watch the whole thing with us, uncut, uninterrupted, head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Jaby KOAY. However, you will need your own Netflix subscription or wherever you can that you can watch this movie. That's where we watched it. It'll be like you're watching it with 2 of your favorite pals from the internet. The reason why you need your own subscription is, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, is so you can have the movie side by side with our reaction video because we can only show you a limited amount of picture-in-picture. I have said way too much for this intro that was supposed to be shorter. Here we go.
ఎప్పుడు ఆ తాతగాడు ఎవడో ఒకటిని తీసుకురావడం ఆడ మనకు తగులు కూడా ఏంట్రా ఆ బయట ఉండడం మనం ఏదో ఇచ్చామనుకో.
Don't do that.
దెబ్బకి పావులా కమిషన్లు పక్కన పడేసి ఇంకా పెద్ద అమౌంట్ లాగేద్దాంరా.
ఏం జరిగినా ఎస్ చెప్పించే వెళ్తాను ఇవాళ.
నాకు నువ్వు ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఓకే కూర్చో.
సంపాదించమనే పెళ్ళాలందరికీ అల్లుడు, ఆపమనే పెళ్ళం ఎవరుకుంటుంది. నువ్వు కూర్చో. వాళ్ళకి కరెక్ట్ మొగుడిని నేను తగిలిస్తా కదా. ఎవరు నువ్వు?
My man came in here with his own soundtrack, his own theme music.
ఎంతమంది వస్తారు? ఒక్కళ్ళే మాట్లాడండి.
Fine, then I'll leave.
వివిధ భారతి వాణిజ్య ప్రసార విభాగాన్ని
So random. He's into the music.
Yeah, my man is loving it though. That's his track.
There's no the om, no the paspu. God must be really crazy. I'm going to simplify the shares.
Father. అది ఎవరు సంతకం చేస్తే తెలుసా నీకు? తెలుసా నీకు?
Dang! My man came in there like the WWE.
నాకేంటో బంటూ సంథింగ్ కంప్లీట్ అవ్వట్లేదు.
మా ఇన్ని పాటలతో ప్యాక్ చేశాక కూడా బయటెళ్ళి నాన్నకు ఒంట్లో బాగాలేదు, అమ్మ ఆఫీస్కి రాదు, తాత ముసలోడు అయ్యాడు, మనోడు.
This movie's being very meta.
ఇక్కడ అన్న ఒకడు ఉన్నాడు, అడ్డంగా నిలబడిపోతాడు.
Fake dad still. Get out. Let that man shine. Look at this dude.
Damn.
Yes.
Golly.
You know you was jamming.
What an awkward situation to be in.
There we go. Get mama out there. Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Somebody got some splaining to do.
వాల్మీకి
పుట్టినప్పుడు నిన్ను పైనుంచి కిందకి తీసుకురావడానికి నాకు 25 నిమిషాలు పట్టిందిరా. అదే కింద నుంచి పైకి రావడానికి నీకు
ఇక బతుకుండగా రాలేవు, కష్టం.
అమ్మా వచ్చేస్తున్నా.
Such a dick.
అవి మీ కంపెనీలో సగం షేర్స్ రాస్తున్నట్టు కాగితాలు. వాటి మీద మీ మూడు పిల్లలిద్దరు సంతకాలెట్టి మీ కొడుకిచ్చి ఫామ్ హౌస్ కంపండి. కుదరలేదనుకో ఓ గంటలో మీ మేనకోడలు.
ఆస్తి మా అమ్మది, అమ్మాయి నాది. నేనే వెళ్ళాలి.
బాబు
కొడితే ఫీల్ అవుతారు అంకుల్.
షేర్లు కావాలని బెదిరిస్తున్నారు. మన రాజుని తీసుకున్నామంటారా?
ఆ ఇంటికి నాకు ఏ సంబంధం లేదు.
అంటూ నేను చెప్పేదేంటి?
రిలాక్స్.
What's he gonna do with that?
Is that a shabidi in his mouth? Man, I haven't seen one of those in ages. I used to smoke those in college back in the day. Damn. I can't imagine how difficult that must be. They gave him DAP. Because you're doing all these physical activities and you smoking. Ugh, that's gotta suck. Ugh.
He's got to look cool the whole time. Like it's nothing. That's the hard part.
I'd have been out there like. Get your ass beat with a windshield wiper. Yeah, just lay down. That was a cool shot. Get these bows. He had to rub his head like that.
Damn.
Damn, where are you gonna skewer?
Did he get stabbed? Oh.
Ooh, just like he did to his dad. Right in the solar plex. That sucks. My man sat down and took a breath.
Damn.
Oh, well, I guess murder was on his mind. Goodness. He gave him the there, pet. You'll be all right. I've been looking back at my henchman behind me like, you ain't gonna do nothing? Just gonna let him walk away?
ఏం పర్లేదండి, నేను హాస్పిటల్ తీసుకు.
Damn.
కాశీ రామాయణ ఎలా ద్వేషిస్తారు సార్? మావాడు ఒక్కసారి కోపడితే చూసి చచ్చిపోవాలన్నారు. మీరు ఉండగానే చూపించేశాను కదా, ఈ కుటుంబంతో సంబంధం లేదని చెప్పటం.
Oh, he lied. That was his only lie. I just realized that.
కుర్రతనం కొద్ది మావాడేదైనా తప్పు మాట్లాడుంటే పెద్ద మనసుతో మన్నించండి, అంతే. అంతేనా?
Oh, he's about to get slapped.
Oh yeah, you can feel it. Dang, almost straightened that leg out.
నా మనవడరా, నా రక్తం, నా బంధం. అలాంటి వాణ్ణి నా అల్లుడు హాస్పిటల్లో ఉన్నప్పుడు నర్సు వీడితో మాట్లాడింది నేను విన్నాను.
Oh shit.
Wow, he knew the whole time? What?
అల్లుడు వీడు నీ కొడుకు, నా ఆస్తికి వారసుడు.
Wow.
వీటిలో ఏ ఒక్కదాని కోసమైనా నిజం చెప్తాడేమో అని ఇన్నాళ్ళు ఎదురు చూశాను. వీడు చెప్పాలి.
Wow.
వీడు చేసిన పని విన్న నాకే రక్తం మరిగిపోతుంటే.
Yeah, I feel that.
రామచంద్ర అంటే గెలుపుకి కేర్ ఆఫ్ అడ్రస్. ఎక్కడ తగ్గకూడదు, తగ్గనివ్వను. అందుకే వచ్చాను చేశాను వెళ్ళిపోతున్నాను.
Man, that got me a little bit. He's like, yo, you're never gonna lose as long as I'm here. I feel that. It's a good dude. Now you're giving your dad a heart attack, though. That's terrible.
ఊరుకోండి నాన్న.
Aww.
So what happens with the other boy now?
Right? You can't blame the other boy either, though. It's not his fault.
25 ఏళ్ళు పెంచిన తర్వాత మీరు కూడా ఆ తల్లి బిడ్డని ఆ తల్లి కాకుండా చేస్తే అదే తప్పు చేయొచ్చు సార్. మనం దీన్ని కరెక్ట్ చేద్దాం. ఏం చేయాలో ఆ పైవాడే చూసుకుంటాడు.
Wow.
వీడి ప్లేస్లో నువ్వు వెళ్ళావంటేనే నువ్వు నా కొడుకు కింద లెక్క. ఇంకా ఒప్పుకోవాలా నేను?
Oh, we just doubling down with these feels.
రిలాక్స్ అవుతున్నా. ఇప్పుడిప్పుడే ఆమ్లెట్ ఆంటీ వేశారు. మొహమాటం లేకుండా తాగుతున్నాను. మందు సిగరెట్లు.
ఆ అప్పలైన్ ఎవడో పొడిచి వాడి కొడుకుని ఎవడో కొల్ల పొడిచాడట.
అని పొడిసింది కొల్ల పొడిసింది మనమే సార్.
రాయ్ ప్రపంచంలో అందరినీ నేనే పొడిచేశాను చెప్ప. నువ్వేం చేస్తుంటావు?
మెడలో వేసుకుంటే కానీ
I'm a doctor.
Because he doesn't look like a doctor. He really doesn't. Hey, what's that look, man? What'd you think?
Oh,
What'd you think?
It was an interesting movie. I mean, it's not that often that you watch a film that is a hangout feels movie. The only films that I really watch that I consider hangout films are Tarantino films, where you're literally there just to hang out, and you're not likely to expect to feel anything emotionally. Like, you might get some cool action, but you're really hanging out. Like, you consider his latest one, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Most of the film is just chilling, hanging out with these people that are interesting, and then twice in the film, I think, 2 or 3 times in the film, maybe you get like a suspenseful, thrilling action, right? But most of it's chill. Yeah. And that's how this film was. It felt very much like a hangout film. Like, you got these fun people to be around, these goofy comedy moments, these dope music videos. It's all very well lit. And I'm like, I just wish when they had the final fight, when they were going after the villain in the movie, what I was looking for was some sense of danger. I never felt like my main character was ever in danger in this entire movie. Like, I never felt fear for him on his behalf. Oh my God, will he get out of this? I never had that feeling at all. That was the one missing thing for me in this movie. But otherwise, I had a good time. I was laughing, you know, and it was beautiful to look at. And each of the characters I felt like were very distinct from one another, even though I didn't feel like they were all 3-dimensional. Like, especially the women in the movie, they were pretty 2-dimensional women in the movie. But overall, I liked hanging out with these people, and I had smiles and laughs.
It took me a while to get into the world because I didn't know what the tone was going to be. So, you know, it's kind of like when you just jump into a pool, you don't really know what the water is going to be. Sometimes it's, you know, it's a warm pool, sometimes it's an ice cold pool. And I jumped in probably expecting a little bit, I guess, more seriousness. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. But then once I settled into the world, I realized, okay, well, this is just gonna be the tone. You're in for just a fun ride, and try not to think too deep into it. Then I really had a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Because it starts off with the father just doing this horrific thing, and I'm like, this doesn't really make sense to me for right now. But we talked earlier in the beginning of the film, it's like we were talking about the whimsical elements of it and how I said it kind of felt like a bit of a Disney film, and there was a small reference to like Cinderella on the shirt, and it really kind of felt that way, that he's like the evil stepfather kind of thing, and he's about to do these horrible things to these good people for his own intentions. And then once I realized that he really is just this horrible dude and he's just gonna be that way, I was cool with it, and it all makes sense. The actions that he did in the beginning, all of that was justified. But to just get hit with it initially, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna feel this. It might be a long couple hours, but it makes sense. It makes sense for the world that was being built. And then of course, you know, like all of us, we have our own preconceived notions and ideas based off of stories that we've experienced before. And you can't help but to try to piece some of it together of how you think it's gonna work out. But like you said, you end up like enjoying this fun romp through Bantu. You end up going through like this fun romp to see how he navigates this. is. And then it really puts up a really interesting question that we brought up earlier, and that is the question of nature versus nurture. I don't want to think too cerebral into it, because that's not really what this film is about.
Right, didn't really explore that. It didn't really explore that philosophy much in the movie. Just a tad. There was like one exchange that explored it, and that was it.
Right. And then the thing that I really loved that kind of like goes against the nature versus nurture thing is that I really thought that the other son, Bantu's rival per se, or Valmiki's real son, I really thought they were gonna just kind of like throw him out to the wind, because the story wasn't really centered around him. You know, he just seemed kind of like be an afterthought, and they saved and redeemed his character, which I didn't really expect to see coming.
Right.
You know, I thought that since his dad was a piece of crap, he's gonna be indirectly like a piece of crap. And it kind of hinted to that a little bit, because he's, you know, he had the easy way out and this, that, and the third. But everybody was somewhat redeemable, with the exception of Valmiki. I guess he's redeemable enough that he didn't go to jail or a prison for murder.
Right.
But, you know, it's not about that. It's just about, you know, what does family mean to you? Are you able to live up to your destiny and be who you really truly are? It delivered on that part.
Valmiki didn't actually kill anyone. I guess he shoved the nurse. But
she died as a result of her wounds.
Like 20 years later, though. 25 years later. It's not really murder per se. Like if you died on the spot, it's a fairy tale. It very much is it's a violent fairy tale, and that's what this comes down to. I mean, we established that at the top. And if you look at like actual fairy tales, I mean, you mentioned it already with Cinderella. They also had a Lion King reference in there as well. The main girl, Pooja Hegde, is Amulia. I think she was wearing a Lion King shirt at one point as well. It showed Simba on the shirt.
Oh, I missed that. That's a really good reference.
Yeah, Simba, who's estranged from his family and eventually comes back as the rightful heir to the throne. Let's take Lion King. You know, in that story, there is the threat of danger. There is the suspense of, will Simba get through this without getting killed? You know, obviously, you know, as a grown-up, you know how it's gonna play out. But the hope is that while you're watching the film, you have a suspension of disbelief where you're like, oh my God, will he? You ask that question and you see Simba going up against his adversary, his uncle Scar. They have a throwdown, and it's harrowing. You know, Simba takes some L's in the process of defeating Scar.
Yes.
There was none of that here. That was my only major complaint with the movie, which is like, he's just like slick through the entire film. Barely a scratch, you know? I think he gets punched.
Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, I think he gets punched in the face.
He gets punched once.
Yeah, he gets punched once in the face, and that was it. I'm like, all right, I get he's supposed to be like this super slick, you know, movie star, but your character has to go through obstacles in order for us to root for him, you know? Now, I understand that for the target audience, they're happy. I mean, this is a very popular film, and they're cheering for him, you know, all the way through, and I get that. Kind of like, you know, going to a concert or something, like cheering for your favorite musician or something. So I understand the feeling. Me, as an outsider watching this, not having that same connection per se, that's all I was looking for, was like, when does this guy have anything that threatens his life, really? Or threatens his well-being? Because not really. They don't even explain why he's such a badass. I have to assume, because he grew up a harder life, he had more edge to him, and that's why he was able to defend himself the way that he does.
Yeah, I completely understand that frustration.
Yeah.
And that's what I had like in the very first like 10, 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
There's an element of like realism that you kind of expect. When they did the world building and you realize that this is the tone that we're going to go for, everything else was just like, okay, I'm here for the ride.
Yeah.
Like the fantastical fight scenes, the fact that he is a badass with absolute no training. Like I semi-thought about it, but it's like, well, this is just this world.
Yeah.
You know, the only real danger to his character was the one thing that he really cared about, and that was the loss of his real family. So I think the writers tried to push that more so, in the fact that the purity of his actions could absolutely jeopardize the thing that he loves most, and that is truth.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of pound that into your head in the beginning. I tell no lies, and I'm just raw with it, and this, that, and the third. And it actually does kind of like catch up to him in the end, but he's a man of principles, so it kind of like pays off. The action to me in this movie could have been just fine without the action. I mean, not the action, but without the fight scenes. It didn't really need a single fight scene. I mean, the guy is a truth warrior enough that, you know, he could defeat his enemies with charm. I mean, he did it dancing on the top of a boardroom table. You know, he didn't really have to throw punches to get the point across, but it's just a fun little extra cherry on top to add to the character. It's like, well, why don't we make him a badass too? And then they just kind of like wrote in some of those badass scenes. And
yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. I'm here. I'm strapped in.
I enjoyed the fight scenes for what they were. I mean, they're obviously, it's leaning in very much to the tone that it was striking, of it being sort of, you know, whimsical, goofy, over the top, fantastical. I was for all that. I thought that was cool. The fight scene, the first one on the soccer field with the scarf, I thought that was just beautifully handled. I think that it peaked for me in that first scene because none of the other scenes matched up to it in terms of the style of the action. I was hoping for that, but elevated further as you go along in the film. I was hoping it would be like just building on top of that. I never really had that feeling again, but like everything else was cool. It was fun to watch, but it was never quite as good as that soccer field fight scene. You know what I mean? I mean, they came out with their strongest one. The thing that was strange to me was for all of his concern and well-being for his real family, he didn't have much to say about
fake family.
Yeah,
the one
like
that he spent 25 years of his life with.
Yeah, like what's up with his sister, who he retrieved the scarf for? What's up with his mom? Because she was ill. Something was wrong with her. We never came back to find out she was okay. She's still in bed, as far as we know. Like we don't know what happened. Like he got all that money. How come he didn't take her to a hospital? I mean, what we did see was at the end she was feeding her real son. I wish they dove a little bit more into the nature versus nurture thing, because I feel like that was an important aspect here. The film is otherwise saying the rich kids belong with the rich and they're awesome. Like that's, you know what I mean?
No, I feel you. And to double down on what you're saying, there is a moment they kind of said that, and he was like, "My house is a disaster." You know, you think it's this, you know, rich kids, no problems, this, that, and the third. You know, my mom and dad don't talk. The son doesn't really living up to his potential. The company is potentially in danger and stuff. So it kind of ties into that. It's like, listen, let's not really just hate the rich. Let's try and understand the rich a little bit more and realize that, you know, we're people too. That's what kind of felt like a little bit.
For all the feels and all the talking in the film, I was hoping for a little bit more of lessons, I guess. Human lessons. You know, that's usually what you walk away with in a Disney movie. It's just some kind of human lesson. I guess the only lesson that you really walk away with is the truth will set you free.
But you know what though? I am happy that they at least let you know that the truth has consequences, because nothing aggravates me more than that whole the truth will set you free and then end stop. I do believe the truth will set you free. However, there's going to be consequences with these truths that you're telling. I'm a firm proponent of the truth. I do believe in it. But to just sit there and just believe that you could just drop truth bombs and then not have an effect is foolish and foolhardy. So I'm happy that they at least was like, okay, we'll drop these truths, but let's see what the fallout is as a result of this. And not everything ends happily when you tell the truth.
That's
a reality of the truth too.
Every single politician in the world is lying, dude. Like, I don't know. If you took any regular husband, could he be honest with his wife what he would do if he was suddenly whisked away by a bunch of beach babe models on a jet plane? You know, like, could he be honest with his wife about what he would do? Like, would he be able to stay strong to his marriage vows under the pressure of temptation at the highest degree? You know, I feel like you take any dude and put him in that circumstance, the thing that he promised to his wife, he can't tell her what he would actually do. That would hurt his wife's feelings. You lie, you tell your wife the lie that she wants to hear.
Lies.
You know, which is, I wouldn't dare touch a single one of them. They could throw themselves at me naked. I wouldn't go near them. I love you, babe, only you. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta, these lies are important. They keep society together and strong.
The little white lies, yeah.
I think so. Like, these things matter. They exist for a reason. When you're walking down the street and you're feeling like crap, an acquaintance sees you and goes, oh, how are you? They don't want to hear, oh my God, I'm having a terrible day because of this, that, and the third. They want to hear, I'm doing all right. And then you just keep going about your day. No one wants to hear the truth about how shitty your day is. You say, I'm doing just fine, and you keep on going, you know? And sometimes even yourself, you don't want to tell the truth to. There's that old adage, fake it till you make it. You lie to yourself, you say, no, fuck that. I'm not feeling bad, I'm feeling great. I'm excellent. And eventually, you're feeling actually kind of excellent because you've convinced yourself of it. It's like this very simple thing of, you know, the truth will set you free. That's basically what the film is saying. And I'm like, hey, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But he used a lie to bring the family together. Let's not forget that.
He did. He did. It falls back into the whole whimsical element of this form of storytelling, and you just gotta just take it for what it is.
Yeah.
You know, that mantra of the truth will set you free is as whimsical as some of the fight scenes that we saw.
Right.
They're in that same tone. You just enjoy it for what it's worth, and then, you know, you keep it moving.
Yeah. I know the setup kind of threw you off, but I actually appreciated it with regards to how fairy tales usually go, because fairy tales are very outlandish and crazy like that sometimes.
That's very true.
I mean, just even the setup of Cinderella is nuts. Just like, you know, you take any of those stories and you look at like the actual one, they're always psychotic. These stories are crazy. And Disney has done its best to not pacify the audience, but sanitize these stories in such a way that make it a little bit more digestible. But if you get down to the heart of it, it's still crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and then the thing is that Disney's actually done a disservice because the original stories for most of those stories are horrific.
Yeah.
Terrible. Hop on the internet and look under like the real Little Mermaid story.
Yeah.
You know, look under like the real, like Brahms tales and stuff like that. They're horrible things.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have to sugarcoat it and pacify certain things so that people can take the truth without being absolutely, you know,
horrified.
Horrified.
Yeah.
Of what the real message is going to be.
I mean, you mentioned a really good one, which is The Little Mermaid, and in that story, she actually dies. And it's a story about self-sacrifice, which, you know, to tie it back into this, that's ultimately what this story was also about, was self-sacrifice. And I suppose within that, there's another lesson, which is, it's a very idealistic lesson. It kind of reminds me of Christianity in a way. You know, it's like the idea was that he was willing to give it all up, and because of that, he got it all back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, well, because like he rejected the wealth. He's like, don't tell mom the truth. You know, I don't need any of this. I'd rather keep everybody happy and intact. Like his own well-being didn't necessarily matter as long as everybody else was happy. And as a result, he got all the wealth, you know, that you could possibly ask for, metaphorically and actually, like physically. Like he got all the wealth in all the ways possible. Valmiki then had to deal with his actual son. It was sort of like messing with my head a little bit. I'm like, okay, what is the movie trying to say about this? Metaphorically speaking, I walk out of the theater going, okay, what am I supposed to learn from that? Exactly. Like, what's the takeaway there? Is it just that he's getting his comeuppance because he's got to deal with this shit child now? I'm a little bit confused.
I don't even know if it's a shit child per se. It's just a dude that's just hasn't found his way. I guess that's what it is. You know, and he's just not cut from the same cloth. He's not. He's smoking and drinking, and the other family's not doing that, and he could care less about the destiny of the family name. This dude was just like, I'm not built like that, man. I do this. And he's going home, and now he's just gonna eat and chill out and hang out with his friends. Nothing really bad happened to him. It's just he's accepted the role that he was destined to become. At least that's how I'm trying to interpret it.
That messes with me so much. That messes with me. It's like, so no matter what, the DNA of this man was always going to be that. If he was raised in his household, he was going to be that. If he's raised in another household, he's going to end up back in his house to eventually be that. That's just fucked. That's what I'm saying.
It's one thing. It's like you can't change it. What is it? You can't change your tiger stripes, or a leopard can't change his spots.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Your stars are your destiny.
I guess it makes me wonder what the story, how in the writer's mind, how this would play out if Valmiki never switched the kids. Like, what would be the end of the story then?
Nothing would change. It would just be.
Well, would it eventually be that Bantu and Raj end up swapping places, just like it did here? Like, if the babies never got switched, would that have happened? I'm obviously looking way too deep into this shit, but it's the fact that there's some kind of religious connotation there, I'm sure of it. There's like philosophical overtones that is very overt. So what is the meaning of that, is my question to the audience and to you. Like, it's one of those things where it's kind of riding the line where it's like, it's not a deep movie, but it is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
See, and that's the thing. I just had to turn off it's deep. I had to turn it off. I'm telling you, because like the opening 10 minutes, first 15 minutes, you get to a point where I was like, oh, let me just turn this switch off.
Yeah.
And the minute I turned that switch off, I had a really fun time. It was really good.
Yeah.
But if I kept that switch on, it wouldn't have worked at all.
Yeah.
I probably would have tapped you on the shoulder and been like, we probably got to watch something else, my guy.
Right.
But that's the thing. Like, films like this remind me and check myself. 'Cause I'm like, do I want to watch this movie to be mentally stimulated, or do I want to watch this to be entertained?
It's the latter.
Things.
It's the latter for sure.
This is to be entertained.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay for a movie to be like, well, let's just give the people the escape that they're looking for. Because at the end of the day, you're going to the theater to escape, right?
Right.
This is an escape film.
Yes.
This is not let's find the inner meaning of what the writer is trying to find. At least from my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, totally.
It's just not moving me as a thinker. It's just, let's just have some fun with this.
No, I think that for the most part, that is the case here. I think there is a degree of philosophy that the film wants to impart. Or maybe that's just there for the character's sake, you know, like it's his thing. He only tells the truth. And so it's not really necessarily a thing that the filmmaker wants to impart on the audience. It's more, this is just how these characters are and what they believe. And that's it. And there's nothing deeper than that. You know, maybe there might be a reference to some kind of religious deity on some level, but that doesn't really mean anything beyond the scope of the story and the confinements therein. You know, it's not really meant to be something you take with you and apply to your own life. And so, to what you're saying, I feel like this is totally the kind of movie. I always like to say this, and it sounds like a backhanded compliment when I say it out loud, but like for me, I mean it completely as a compliment. Like, this is totally the kind of film I would just throw on the TV in the background and just have it playing, like at a party or something like that, or just like chilling, because like it's beautiful to look at. It's mostly what's the word I'm looking for? It's mostly innocuous. Like the violence, there's violence there, but for the most part, it's not gruesome or gory. I feel like this is the kind of film where you can just have it on. It's not likely to really offend anybody, except for the shot of like the baby looking stillborn for a moment. It wakes up. So
it came out the gates really awkward to me, and the baby was one of the things that came out awkward to me, because I was like, you don't really show like dead babies on the movie, and luckily it wasn't a dead baby.
Yeah.
But the initial thought, it was so cringy. I was like, I'm really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Looking at this fetus, like.
Yeah, it was pretty dark.
It was really dark, man.
Yeah.
And it's like in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on, man. I'm like, where am I visually right now?
Yeah, it was intense. I wasn't sure where I was going. I wasn't sure where that was going either, but it all worked out.
That's the thing. It all worked out. I will say one more thing. I'll say one more quick thing. You look at art for an emotional charge in some fashion. You know, love, hate, you know, whatever it is that you're going through, anxiety or whatever. And it did hit some really good tones. I did laugh. There was a couple of moments where, you know, I'm big on Papa moments. That got me. You know, I was like, ooh, had to kind of like, you know, get the whole thing. You kind of got to roll the tears over to the other side so they don't fall. I had one of those kind of like moments and stuff like that. So if you're talking about just like, does it deliver on just on some emotional charges and the reason why we enjoy art, I think that part did deliver.
I'm glad that it did it for you. For me, it was like, I can see it. It didn't like connect with me as deep as I was hoping. And I think that's why I came out the gate in the conversation talking about maybe some things that could have improved the story. Because I think that because you're completely suspending all realism in the movie, I had a hard time with really connecting with the emotional stuff, because this is just like a cartoon, a real life cartoon for me now. And it looks gorgeous, you know, like that's the biggest takeaway from me is like, especially in those music videos, I'm like, golly, the DP on this did some magic. It's a beautiful looking film. Some of those slow motion shots look really great. I'm really glad that it was a whimsical tone, because it really works well with the style of the fight scenes that they were going for. Because sometimes you get action movies where the fight scenes are just like that, but it's meant to be taken seriously, and that just sort of throws me off. I'm like, there's no way I can take that seriously. They're bouncing all over the floor and stuff like that. It's fun, but I can't take it seriously, and I'm glad that the overall tone was just basically just fun. So I enjoyed it. You guys hopefully enjoyed that reaction and discussion. Let us know your feelings in the comments below. If I or SYNTELL offended any of you guys, we apologize. Just speaking our truth. And do subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon, all notifications, and please vote this up so that YouTube know you enjoyed what you watch. Also, if you're watching this on Patreon already, thanks so much for supporting us here. Follow SYNTELL with the Intel on youtube.com/SYNTELL and @SYNTELL on Instagram. That's it for now. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is...
Yo, it's your boy SYNTELL.
Peace out.